Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger. Up next, Thinking Ravens Future. Let's talk. After the loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, I kind of spent some time just thinking about what is this team really, right? Is this team really a Super Bowl contender? Probably not. Is this team really going to make a deep playoff run? Maybe not. But beyond this season, who or what is foundational to the Baltimore Ravens' future, right? And playing the Philadelphia Eagles really got into a space and place where people were comparing the teams. There was a narrative out there that these teams are built very similar, and these two GMs are two of the best in the league. And I got to thinking, and I took a step back after just examining what we saw on Sunday, and the conclusion I came up with is that's a lie. These two GMs are not two of the best. The Philadelphia Eagles GM is one of the best, but EDC is not close to being one of the best. And playing the Philadelphia Eagles kind of shed some light on that. You see, to be one of the best GMs and to secure a present and a future, you have to draft well, you have to retain talent, you have to get busy in free agency and pull off good deals, and you make necessary trades to kind of fill in those gaps where some things may be failing. Which of those has EDC done well? None. He gets an F from me in all those categories. But let's go one step deeper, right? When I talk about the future of the Baltimore Ravens. When I look at the offensive side of the ball, there's about 5 players that I believe are here beyond 2 years. Lamar, and that's a question growing every day. Zay Flowers. I think Roger Rosengarten. I think that Tyler Lindenbaum, and maybe Mark Andrews. Yeah, I didn't name Isaiah Likely because Isaiah Likely has other GMs already salivating, and other GMs are already putting in a trade package to be able to pitch to the Ravens next trade deadline to get Isaiah Likely, who will be due a contract, off their hands. So I'm not even sure if a young talented guy like Isaiah Likely is going to be on this roster past 2 seasons. So when you look at the rest of this stuff that we have going on, the backfield will be empty. You have 2 offensive linemen, Lindenbaum and Rosengarten, and you have 1 wide receiver and an aging Mark Andrews, again with a question. That's what the future looks like. Because we don't have no rising talent waiting in the wings along that offensive line. We don't have a rising talent in the backfield just waiting, right? I understand Keaton Mitchell is there, but he's not an every down back, and he's not ready to go even right now. I think that's why he was inactive this past game. What else do we have? Yeah, I know they drafted Devontae Walker, but he can't even get on the field now. And so what I'm basing my opinion on, or my thought on, is what do we see and have evidence of right now? Let's jump to the defense side of the ball. Just purely based on contract, Madubuike, Roquan, both will be on this team. But because their salaries are so high, that puts a young guy like Travis Jones' future in Baltimore in jeopardy. Because will they pay Travis Jones $100 million and have $200 million interior defensive linemen? I don't think so. Because think about it. Travis Jones, when you look at the tape, has actually outperformed Madubuike this season and has been better than Madubuike in the same trajectory. This is Travis Jones's 3rd season, where Madubuike only broke out in his 4th season. So will the Baltimore Ravens pay him, meaning this current administration? I don't think so. Right? When you jump outside to edge rush, there's not an edge rusher on this roster that you're excited about. Right? You're not really excited about Trent Simpson, a 2nd-year linebacker, because he hasn't shown one play besides the play he showed last year in the Pittsburgh game at the end of the season that he can really ball like that. And then you got Kyle Hamilton. Will they make him the highest paid safety in the league? Right? We know his starting price just on the Ravens is $70 million. because that's what they gave Marcus Williams, who is still in money now. But we know that Winfield Jr., I think he got $84 million. That pushes Cal Hamilton to $100 million safety. Are they going to pay that? Right? Out of the whole draft class from the 2024 draft class, out of the entire draft class from 2024, let me say it that way. Who are you excited about for real? Defensively. You excited about Nate Wiggins? Because that 4.2 speed is not really showing up to be effective on defense. You excited about TJ Tampa, who's been hurt all year? You excited about Adisa Isaac? Right? See, because Ajabo has been injured, which would have opened the door for Adisa Isaac, but you haven't really heard him much at all this season. One play is all you've heard from him this season. So who are you excited about? See, when we talk about our future, what are we excited about? You see, Belanger, why would you be talking about this in such a dim light? Well, playing the Eagles did this for me. When it comes to GMing, think about this, right? When Jalen Hurts walked in the door of the 2020 draft to the Philadelphia Eagles, Lamar Jackson had already earned 1 MVP. He has 2 under his belt, and he's been a leading contender the last 5 seasons, if we can just be honest, right? Stay with me. That next draft, what did the Philadelphia Eagles do? They drafted Devontae Smith, right? After only 1 season of productivity, what did they do the next offseason? They traded for A.J. Brown, right? That means the Philadelphia Eagles had done more to help their young quarterback than the Baltimore. Watch this now. They had done more in 2 seasons with no MVP to help that young quarterback than the Baltimore Ravens have done in 7 seasons, 6 as a starter for Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I know they've tried, but I'm not talking about tried. When you have a guy who already has an MVP under his belt, you don't try, you get it done. You understand what I'm saying? See, when they needed to go get a linebacker, they didn't try. They got a deal done for Roquan and then paid him. When they needed to get a deal done with Metabike, they didn't try. They just got him paid. When they needed to get a deal done in the past with Marlon Humphrey, they didn't try. They just got it done. Right? When they needed to trade for Marcus Peters, they just got a deal done. When they traded for Ndakwe in order to get a pass rusher, they didn't try. They just got it done. But when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, which is why I'm not super excited about what the future holds for us, especially if this administration stays in place, is because they have ignored the real help to their MVP quarterback. Yeah, I know there's a false narrative out there right now that Lamar Jackson is playing with the best talent he's ever played with. That ain't saying much, because he ain't played with much talent in his career. And this narrative has really, really surfaced after they just added Derrick Henry, right? But all they did was add a running back. Who did they add to take care of his interior offensive line? They didn't. They replaced his former players, and Kevin Zeitler is out in, I think he's in Detroit playing like an all-pro, or at least a Pro Bowler once again. They got rid of his interior offensive lineman and replaced him with novice. Is that how you take care of an MVP? It doesn't sound like it to me. Does not sound like it to me. And I'm sure it doesn't sound like it to you. Does it sound like they've taken care of him at the wide receiver position? Doesn't sound like it to me. So I can't be excited about what's going to happen for this team in the future. Let's go one step deeper. Since the media wanted to compare the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to do the same thing just when it comes to GMing. When you look at the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, right? Their left tackle is an undrafted free agent who they found off the scrap heap, developed him, put him at left tackle. He balls out, and then they made sure they kept him in-house. Even when they lost Kelsey, they replaced Kelsey, a Hall of Famer, and have not missed a beat. Still have one of 2 of the best offensive lines in the entire league. So comparing, comparing the Philadelphia, I think his name is Howie Roseman. I think I got his name right. Comparing the Philadelphia Eagles GM to EDC, there's no comparison. They've taken care of their most valuable commodity, which is a franchise quarterback. See, when you pay the quarterback, you got to protect him. Or what did you pay him for? Right? And watch this. Let's go deep now. And then what they've done on the defense side of the ball is put together a unit that they don't have any money invested in. Think about this, right? Their most expensive player on their defensive roster is Darius Slay, and he didn't even play this past Sunday, and it didn't make a difference when it came to shutting down the Baltimore Ravens. You had a young Jordan Davis in the trenches. You had a young Smith. You had a young Jalen Carter. You had a young Nakobe Dean. You had a rookie in Quinyon Mitchell. You had a rookie in Cooper DeJean, who looks better and more impactful than Nate Wiggins. You had a young Blankenship. You had a cast off in Zach Bond. See, they don't have any money really in their defense, and they have a top defense. When we do a comparison between the Baltimore Ravens and the Philadelphia Eagles, it's not a fair comparison. Because when you look at the work that the GM of the Philadelphia Eagles has actually done, and when you look at the work of EDC, it pales in comparison. Think about it from a defensive perspective only. The Baltimore Ravens have 4 players who have a salary that approaches roughly $370 million. 4 players. That means with the rest of the contracts on the defense, we're well over $400 million in value. The Philadelphia Eagles may have just $100 million. Belanger, you can't prove that. Well, I believe that I can. Darius Slay is their highest paid defender. He didn't even play on Sunday, right? As I stated earlier. But when you look at the rest of the talent, they're all young players, right? They have a lot of capital when it comes to draft picks, which they hit on, but they don't have any long-term contracts of high dollar value because Slay will be free to go in just a season or 2. But when you look at their future, if Slay leaves, Quinyon Mitchell is already in place. Cooper DeJean is already in place. Blankenship for the safety position is already in place. Nakobe Dean is already in place at linebacker. Davis and Carter are already in place down in the trenches. Smith, I can't remember what he actually plays, but he's already in place. Watch this. So because they have less money invested in the defense, but they've been effective. Why? Because they've killed it at drafting. They've killed it in moving on from old players and replacing them with young players. It has allowed them to build that rock solid offensive line. It has allowed them to go out and sign Saquon Barkley to help out their young franchise quarterback. It allowed them to make a trade a couple of years ago and pay A.J. Brown roughly $30 million. It allowed them to retain Devontae Smith. It allowed them to retain Dallas Goedert. And watch this, because they're killing it in the draft, you can expect them to build offensively behind the guys who are already paid so that that money shifts from the offense to the defense so you can retain that talent. And now, because you drafted early and developed your players, you have offensive players who are willing to step in to those roles vacated by those high contracts. That's a team who can be excited about what they have going on in the future. You see, think about it. This team was just in a Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, or 2.5 seasons ago. And they're back in position to go back again. And in 6 seasons of Lamar Jackson starting, we hadn't even really been close. And it's because we have the same roster deficiencies over and over and over again. We've been playing with a mishap offensive line because we refuse to retain good talent. We had Orlando Brown, who is a Pro Bowler. We traded him away. We had Ben Powers, who started for the Ravens, was good, went out and got a big contract because we refused to pay him. And then what happens? He becomes a Pro Bowler. So we're letting Pro Bowl talent along the offensive line. The most important part of the offense is the line to protect who? Your $250+ million quarterback. It doesn't make sense how we're operating. And then because you failed to draft talent who can, 1, stay on the field, and 2, be productive, you refuse to go out and get a number 1 type wide receiver. Well, Belanger, it wasn't none really out there, and people refused to trade with us. That's a lie. Because you know why? The Cleveland Browns picked up Jerry Jeudy for a 5th round pick. Now watch this. And since Jerry Jeudy has joined the Cleveland Browns, and you move out Deshaun Watson due to injury, and you put in Jameis Winston, Jerry Jeudy looks like a number 1 wide receiver. Don't know if you watched him over the last 2 or 3 games, but he looks like a number 1 wide receiver. In fact, so much that he has more receiving yards than our very own Zay Flowers, which means there was a deal that could have been done where we get Jerry Jeudy on our team. But we're so cheap and we're so inconsistent. But what did we learn? What did we learn about the Ravens? They tried to pull off what? A big deal for a big time cornerback in Marshawn Lattimore. Think about that. Think about that. They didn't worry about salary. They didn't worry about draft compensation, really. They was trying to go and bag a big time defender. But we continue to ignore what we need on offense. Well, Belanger, we didn't really need a wide receiver. You a lie. Let me tell you how I know it's a lie. Because why would they make a trade, even if it's a low value trade for Deontay Johnson, if we didn't need something in an upgrade or what was supposed to be an upgrade at wide receiver? Why would they make a trade? Doesn't make sense. And then for whatever the reason, we have failed to figure out how to use him. A guy who has been known for elite separation, we failed to even figure out how to use him. And now it sounds like his time in Baltimore is going to be short. So we'll cut him or release him or whatever you want to call it, and he'll walk to a contending team and he'll get on that team, probably the Chiefs, and be productive. Or maybe the Bills. You never know. You see, that's why there's no comparison between us and the Philadelphia Eagles. They're set for now and they're set for the future. They have weapons and an offensive line around their young, talented quarterback who can't even really carry Lamar Jackson's bags. And then they have a young, talented defense that's ready to go, and they don't have no money invested in that defense just yet. In fact, when Darius Slay steps away, his contract can just trickle down to the next guy up to get paid. That's how you run your franchise. EDC is running the Baltimore Ravens into the ground, and he's going to run them out of contention if we're not careful. I'm Miguel Boulanger. This is the GM, and I'm out.